Hi everybody, you're listening to the Khandaan Podcast by the Upodcast team, a bi-weekly podcast revisiting the movies of Amir Khan, Salman Khan and Shah Rukh Khan.
Every show we pick a random year from 3 decades of collectively 300 films the Khans have done and let our listeners vote which movie we should talk about. So it's entirely up to you.
Pick a team, make a vote, take us down nostalgia lane, punish us, or make us reassess a movie we dismissed.
We love the Khans, most of us, sometimes. And we would love for you all to be part of our Khandaan, because when it comes to the Khans in Bollywood, nothing else really matters.
Okay, let's get started, guys. I think we should put Baby Ko Base Pasand Hai before we start, just listen to it in our headphones before we start recording. I just kind of feel it jams me up every time when I listen to that theme song. And the problem is also whenever I do the editing, I have to listen to everything 2-3 times and then I'm singing Baby Ko Base Pasand Hai for 4 days.
Oh dear.
What DJ Shai, what have you done to us? Welcome to the show. Welcome. Hey, Amrita. Hey, Sujoy.
Hello.
Hi, Asim. Hi, Sujoy.
Let's do a bit of housekeeping first, right? Because we have lots of things to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about still is we're still giving away the book Bollywood, the films, the songs, the stars. So we have a couple of copies of it. If people can send us some reviews, we've already received some really cool reviews from people. I should have actually
reviews of the show, our podcast, not of the
not just random Anupama Chopra reviews or something like that. And then they can pick a movie. So that's cool, and we'll put your name in a big white hat, pull out a name at the end of the month and send you these books. We've got a few reviews from people, quite wonderful things that they sent to us. I did I think Alia sent us a review. Oh, you can also send us negative reviews. So if you're not happy, just send us a review. We don't mind. And by the way, I know everybody who's listening to us on Twitter because I interact with you and I know that you haven't left a review. So I'm judging you silently, just so you know. But I think it was one listener that says it's a bit confusing why we have these different shows and we don't do current and up-to-date movies on Khandaan Podcast. So just to kind of reiterate, there's 3 different shows. Normally, all of our non-Khan podcast content should go on Bollywood Edition, and all the Marvel movies and all that stuff goes to Main Event. So, but Khandaan has been just so much fun. We've just been focusing on that. And honestly, I think the year has been boring in terms of really film discussion. So we haven't really recorded much of the other podcasts. But if anything comes up, we'll definitely do that again. But Khandaan is usually more Khan-related stuff.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I went to the cinema to watch a Bollywood movie, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Veer the Wedding we can do, a regular one.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
I missed October, Hichki.
Yeah.
I didn't watch Razi either.
I missed Baghi too. Yeah.
Well, don't worry about it. I mean, all of them will be on some kind of streaming platform within 3 weeks. So.
Yeah, exactly.
You can just watch it there. But I think going forward, this year is really... I can see some really quality content coming from Hollywood this year rather than Bollywood. I'm thinking about the movies that are coming up this year in terms of from Hindi cinema, and there isn't anything that's super exciting for me.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of movies in other languages in India, and I see a lot of movies coming out of Hollywood this year that have me super excited, but I guess that's not the content you're looking for.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how it affects the ticket sales in India, because a lot of Indian Bollywood movies these days are released in collaboration with Amazon Prime streaming, and so they just get into streaming just after 2-3 months of getting released, and Amazon Prime is pretty cheap in India. So, yeah.
So So yeah, so that's kind of wanted to reply to that review that we got. Another comment that we got is, I know you guys told me not to react on it, but I have to because it's just me. Guys, please don't complain if we're a week late. I mean, it's a free podcast that we just put out as love, So don't like come back and say, like, why have you not released the podcast and stuff? I understand it's love that you're giving us, that you're looking forward to the show, but until we're not paid by anybody, we're just going to do whatever the hell we want,
But also, like last week, the reason why we didn't record is because I was really sick. Like I couldn't speak. So the boys were just being really nice to me and like giving me the weekend off. So if you want to be mad at somebody, you can be mad at me, but that would be a really jerk move because I was sick.
And if anybody is mad at Amrita, I'll go stand in front of them. I'm like, "Kya hai, kaun hai bhai?" So this is not going to work.
Ardo.
Asim hamara bhai hai.
Exactly. But Sujoy is catching up quickly, right? He's So I think that was the first thing. And then since the Trump election, our belief in democracy has slowly been chipping away. So even Khandaan Podcast is getting tired of it. So we're going to, and also honestly, I think a few other reasons were that we have heard your feedback. I understand that, the way we've been running the poll, that a lot of times the movies people really want to talk about do get, pushed back, or you feel that we're never going to get back to a movie that didn't get picked. So we're from the episode 15 onwards, we're going to be doing a few, at least 5 listener choices. We're gonna change up the format of the show slightly. We're going to be working more with the listener choices that we get and then running the poll, right? That's how we want to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just going to try this format out for like 5 episodes, starting with episode 15. And we'll make a final call later, but we're just going to just see where it takes us, because there's been a lot of people who've been coming back to us and talking about some really great movies that we haven't talked about in the years that we've already done, for example. And we just want to give them like a little bit of, we want to give them a little bit of sugar as well, because those are our regular listeners, and if you notice, they've been getting back to us. We said the word feedback, which we like. Yeah. So, so we just wanted to give people a little bit of a chance. So for about 5 episodes, we're just going to try this new format.
Yeah, and I mean, we've gotten a few really good picks. People send, you have to talk about DDLJ, Main Hoon Na, Tiger Zinda Hai. Even a lot of people, Rang De Basanti, we missed out. It didn't win the poll, but people really want to hear our thoughts about it. So we've received a few. And every time anybody leaves us a review, I always get back to them and tell them, thanks for the review, and, give us a pick, any pick, any movie from the Khandaan repertoire you want, we can add that to the list. So that's another thing. So we're going to be doing a few of those. For the next episode, we did pull out the year 2011. So the next episode, on the poll, you can choose between Salman Khan's Bodyguard and Ready, Amir's Dhobighat. There was some confusion about the release date, but we've added to it because otherwise we wouldn't have any Amir movie. And then Shah Rukh had Ravan and Dawn 2. Mostly interesting movies. I wouldn't mind revisiting, except the Salman ones because they're terrible.
I was literally sitting here listening to you read out that list of names and thinking, wow, another shit sandwich. And then you were like, oh, mostly good movies. And I'm just like, what?
I have been on record that Ready is one of the Salman movies I hate the most. Like, my hate for Reddy is immense, and a lot of that is because of Anis Bazmi. He's a director I absolutely hate. His work I absolutely hate, because he actually seems like a very well-spoken, nice guy. So it's so weird to me, but I hate Reddy, but yeah.
I almost thought you said well-spoken guy.
Well, his movies do reflect that, so maybe.
Yeah. So you have the choice between Bodyguard, Ready, Dhobighat, Ravan, and Dawn 2. So that's going to be next episode. This episode is obviously Jaan-e-Mann, but we want to talk about the Race 3 trailer, songs, and kind of just give our reactions a little bit about it, right? Sujoy, man, let's start with you. I actually haven't even heard of what have you been thinking about Race 3? And just to kind of give context, it's releasing very soon, and they had a bit of delay in terms of releasing the trailer. So to me, it seems that they've now had a very short promotional cycle, and they're just stuffing it like with every other day we have a new song, a new clip, a new behind the scenes video or something like that. So they're really bombarding us with it. So Joy, man, what have your thoughts been about the trailer, for example, of Race 3?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, they are actually, stuffing like social media, and everywhere you see, you just can't escape. Like, even if you follow just one Bollywood, film account, like even Filmfare or anything, they are liking and retweeting all this stuff. It's just mad. And like Bobby Deol is in full throttle social media mode at the moment. Salman, obviously, and everybody else involved in the cast and crew of this movie is out there promoting the movie. The trailer itself, like, it just gave me a vibe of more is more, like Fast and the Furious kind of vibe. Not sure if it's like my cup of tea. I'm not sure if I actually like the first two movies either, but they're just mindless action entertainers, and just take it as it is. If you are into that kind of movie, I'll probably watch it with you, because I know you will enjoy it, and I'll probably get induced from that enjoyment of yours.
Second-hand enjoyment.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much what I thought about it. Like that particular, there is this one scene where you obviously trust Salman to walk topless in the promos, and like Bobby Deol is also walking topless next to him, and he just glances at him. He just, I don't know, it just seems like he's like malnourished or something.
No, yeah, I think he looks good, man. I think he's looking really good. As you get,
like in comparison with Salman,
Yeah. It's like you get 4 pecs for the price of 2, basically.
Pretty much.
Amrita, I wish you were in London, that we could all go have popcorn and watch this movie together, really.
So I've seen Race 1 and Race 2, right? Like, because they're stupid. Like, they're incredibly stupid. But they're stupid in a way that you can like point and laugh and you have like a good time, because it's so stupid. And I think Race 3 is going to be more of the same. It's a bit Island of the Misfit Toys kind of a feel, because it's just like people you're just looking at and going like, hey, him, what? Him.
He used to be a thing.
Yeah. So that's fun, but also it's I've enjoyed all the chatter around the trailer and all the stuff that's coming out of it, like the Bobby Deol interview that I want to talk about in a bit. But the movie itself, obviously, it's not something that's going on my list of like must-watch cinema, or like, this is going to be an amazing spectacle or anything. But I've enjoyed, like, for example, so this is they're trolling, right? Like, I hope they're trolling, because if they're serious, then oh my God. But there are these people who say they're like diehard fans of Saif, and they're like really pissed that
that was hilarious.
Salman stole this film from Saif, and it is the funniest stuff that I've read in my life, because they're just taking everybody to church, and it is the most hilarious thing. Like, it continues to be the most hilarious thing, and they've kept it up for quite a while now, and it's one of the joys of my life presently. I've also I saw the song "Selfish," and I was telling actually Asim put it up, the link, and he, I thought, like, the way everybody was talking about that song, I thought Salman's girlfriend is singing in it. What's her name?
Alleged.
Oh yes, the white lady who just like randomly lives with.
Do you mean she is allegedly his girlfriend, or she's allegedly singing it?
Allegedly, there's a person called Julia Vantor. I'm not even sure if there's an actual person.
So she's singing in this song, and it's just a very random thing to me. Like, why is this white lady singing? Like, why isn't she? Because she's an actress. Like, I thought she's an Armenian actor, right?
I have no clue. I thought she came in like as an item girl or something like that. Although I don't like that word, like a dancer, like, like a performer. But
I guess Bhabhi can't be an item girl, but
I almost felt like, ooh, I use the wrong word. Oh, I'm in trouble. An object lady.
So instead of being an object lady, Bhabiji is now singing in Bollywood, and it's a really weird choice. Like, why?
The favorite part of me in that song is when she goes like, "Ik baar, darling," and you see a shot of Salman, and he's so enjoying it. He's like, "Yeah, baby, selfish hoike," like I love it.
But then, like, I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was going to be terrible. And so I, like, pressed play, and I'm listening to the song, and I'm like, actually, she's not so bad. Like, no. She's hitting all the consonants. Like, she seems to have a good accent. I'm really impressed. Yeah. And then, like, the song progressed, and I was like, oh, no, that's Atif Aslam. I don't know what kind of auto-tune they used in that song, but they basically made, like, Atif and Yulia's voices like weirdly similar.
Yeah, because they don't sound the way at all they sound like normally. Like, both of their voices are off in that song. I don't know what they're doing.
Well, I don't know what she sounds like normally. Maybe she does sound like a man. I don't know. But Atif definitely doesn't sound like that. He has a very nice voice usually. And I say that as somebody who is frequently annoyed by Atif Aslam's voice. But his voice is actually much better than that. But yeah, like I saw, there's that song in which Salman is dancing, quote unquote, with Jacqueline. Is that the same song? Is it something else? What is it?
No, that's Hiriye. Can I just say it's in my head now? Like, I love that song. I hated it at the start, but damn. Tips or T-Series, whoever it is, they make some catchy songs, man. It's like, damn, even if you don't want to make fun of it, it's ridiculous. It's stuck in my head, man. It's crazy.
Like, one of the joys of my life has been just watching Salman Khan give less and less of a fuck as he gets older about dancing in movies. Yeah. It started with all the pocket dances and all that he used to do. And then, like, I think somewhere around Tiger Zinda Hai, you could actually see it in, like, Swag Se Swagat, where he was just like, nope, I'm not, I don't care. Like,
this is the shot you're going to get, just work with it.
Tum sab karo, I'm just standing. And then in this movie, like, I don't know, like, I guess he's making an effort, but then there's that move that he makes.
That uncle dance, full on uncle dance he does, right?
He does a Bhagwan Dada step. Yeah. I swear to God, go back and watch that.
I know which one you mean. And honestly, Hiriye is the first song where like you said, it started with Swag Se Swagat, where he's just doing his own thing, doesn't, like, everybody else has to kind of follow his beat, and you can actually see it in Hiriye that people are like looking at him like, shit, he did this, now how do we kind of compensate with what he's doing, we have to follow him and not mess up the shot. And Jacqueline is doing it, the background dancers are doing it, and Salman is just doing whatever the hell he wants. And honestly, as a card-carrying Salman Khan fan, like, there's no secrets, I know, everybody know which team I play for here. I'm done with Salman in a club. Let's not let him even enter in a club anymore. It looks ridiculous. It looked ridiculous in Sultan, where he did that romantic song, and he was like breakdancing like in the 70s and thinking about Anushka. And this is ridiculous. I think it's done. I like the kind of radio song, which I was listening to again the other day. It's a wonderful song with wonderful choreography, and I like that kind of vibe with, in the street with people, but I don't want to see him in a club anymore. I think I'm done with it.
It'll be hilarious if Salman Khan, who's like the face of commercial Hindi cinema, manages to basically shut down, like trains the audience to appreciate a movie without songs in it. Like that would be a hugely subversive thing for Salman Khan to accomplish.
Yeah.
And I think he's halfway there. Like in Tiger Zinda Hai, like there was that one song that they did in the middle. The romantic song, but after that there really wasn't anything like a song thing. Like Swagat was basically the end credit song. So I think he's slowly moving towards it. And Amir, of course, has like given up a long time ago. Even in Dhoom, he was just like, Katrina's twice my size. I'm not gonna stand there and dance with her. I'm just gonna sit on this chair and let her dance around me.
I love this is a recurring theme in our podcast that Amrita really thinks Amir is short. Like he's really short in Amrita's one.
He's basically an Oompa Loompa in my head.
Oh dear.
He's like pocket size. Like he just gets smaller and smaller.
Okay, I have something to add about the Race 3 trailer. Like the best thing that has come out are the memes, and the best one out there was put up by Netflix India, where they put a quote from Race 3 trailer on a picture of Maan and Sheila, and Maan and Sheila is saying, "Our business is our business, none of your business." It's the best thing out there.
I saw that. That was hilarious.
Yeah, I do kind of feel. And this is going to be a kind of, like this movie feels more like a product than a movie, right? It seems like a project where everybody got together and it's just gonna, but the thing is,
let's make some movie.
Yeah, we have this lying around. Yeah. And honestly, I don't mind it. I think the whole year has been really boring. Salman's last release was, one of the last releases was, that really bad movie. What was it called again? Tube Light, right? I think we're just kind of missing a spectacle on screen. And I think, I'm excited to go. I think it's going to be a terrible movie. Remo D'Souza is a terrible director. But I just want to see entertainment. I want to be entertained, So I think, in that sense, it kind of it looks fun, ridiculous fun, like in that Fast and Furious thing. And they really took off that idea of we're a family. But I think it's also like Jai Ho. I don't know if you guys remember Jai Ho, where Salman brought in like a whole coterie of all of these actors that hadn't been on screen for 20 years to kind of, help them out a little bit more. And I just think it's nice that he's, giving Daisy Shah really a new, lease of life in Bollywood. And she's really embracing this meme about her and this dialogue because it is ridiculous, but she's also making fun of the fact that it is ridiculous and she's in on the joke. I don't think they were expecting it to take off the way it did, but I just find it surprising that, the same people that make fun of nepotism also really enjoy making fun of a total outsider, like Daisy Shah trying to make a career out of herself in Bollywood, So it's like, we really don't care, we'll just make fun of everything, we just have things to say.
But isn't Daisy like one of Salman's projects?
I don't, maybe, but, he's had enough projects, I just, I don't know what, isn't everybody's projects, like, I don't know.
Salman has a lot of projects.
Yeah.
Right?
She's an outsider though, right? She has no connections. She has no training. She has no skills. So it's really Salman throwing a bone to somebody, right? So,
it's, actually somebody on Twitter, I think it was Odi Sheikh, but maybe not, did a bit of sleuthing around and they discovered that, there's some sort of like super bot activity around Daisy Shah. Like she's been trending more than Salman actually for this movie. Like there's a lot of like paid promotion stuff going on with Daisy. Like a lot of people like just pushing her name out there and like she's gone up in the search rankings on Google and stuff. And then like
but Amrita, I'm listening to Amitabh, and 60% of Shah Rukh's followers are fake too. So what do we know, right?
my God, what is wrong with Amitabh Bachchan?
I don't follow him anymore. I just hear people like, what is he talking about again? So, I mean, yeah, it's, I don't know. I don't mind the paid promotion and all that kind of thing. You know, like, I mean, what is a person gonna do? You know, like if they're a total outsider, I mean, I don't mind those kind of things. So, but let's talk about probably the most effective marketing that they've done for this movie is the Bobby Deol interview with Anupama Chopra, right?
Oh my God, yes.
Oh my God.
Who cried? Like, honestly, hands up. Did everybody?
I didn't cry, but I was really affected by it.
I was like, I had a little tear come out, you know. I'm a sensitive, you know, I'm like a soft-hearted macho, you know, so.
It's a sensitive thug. Like, that's Asim.
Yeah. Ikabar, sensitive, hoike.
Yeah, like so there's like I'm sure like Asim and Sujoy have a lot of like senti stuff to talk about, and it's all true. But two of the things that because I'm shallow as hell, so I'm just going to talk about two things. And one is that
what was Bobby even wearing?
It's his comeback clothes. Asim, they make fun of him. But like he talked about how he and Salman apparently call each other Mamu, and I felt so bad for Amir at that moment because you know, like everyone knows Salman is Bhai and like Shah Rukh is Khan Saab and like all that stuff. Amir doesn't really have a nickname. The only nickname he has is the one that the people on the internet call him, which is Mamu. And now even that is being co-opted by Salman, and I'm like, oh, he doesn't even get that. But anyway, that's just me. The second thing that I thought was like super interesting, just because we're talking about Jaan-e-Mann, is that apparently when Bobby got the call from Salman, and he talked to Salman apparently about like, you know, whether he had any roles going or anything, like, you know, Annadata, like do you have a space in your film? And Salman called him and said, shirt utarega. And to me that was hilarious because in Jaan-e-Mann there's a scene where Salman as a struggling actor is like knocking at different producers' doors, and none of them will give him a job until at the last one he takes off his shirt and gets hired immediately. And I thought, you know, that's like you know, it's like full circle. I think we'll talk about that later with Jaan-e-Mann, but like that was one thing. And then, you know, like Bobby cried in it and I felt so bad for him.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. Like, I've read an interview that he did for one of the editorial pieces, I think, where he was brutally honest what was going on in his life and how, you know, he missed working and work wasn't coming for him. And, you know, if it's written text, you don't really get to see the emotion behind it. And then it got too real for me when he just like broke down, like, and then, you know, it affected me. But yeah, I mean, we don't remember Bobby Deol's performances to be any significant, you know, in the Bollywood cinemascape. Like his contemporaries, even like Akshay Khanna is far better in that league of actors. Like if you remember, go back and find his contemporaries in that sense, but that interview just changed. I really want things to work out for him.
Yeah. No, it was a really sweet interview, and I also like the connect that Anupama and Bobby had. And I think this is the uniqueness of Anupama's interviews that more and more I don't watch Rajiv Masan's interviews anymore, and I'm only watching the Anupama ones. Just she has she's less snarky in general, and she also has a kind of a more of a connect, and especially with Bobby here. Like even, I think we're going to be talking a bit about the bucket list interview. I just don't feel there's an awkwardness with when Anupama is interviewing, where people are much more guarded when they're speaking, for example, with Rajiv Masand or Komal Natha, whatever his name is, and a few others, you know, there's more of a guard where, because Anupama is more part of the industry for, you know, her production and this and that.
Also, like, she's been in the business for so long. They have known each other for so many years. So there is a sort of rapport there. And like, she's just when you hear her laughing in an interview, it's genuine.
Yes.
Like she's really enjoying it.
Yeah.
She's in it.
Yeah, and she
And that
also
comes across.
genuinely loves, commercial massy movies, in a way. So that's, I think, a lot of people appreciate, because that's their bread and butter, and that's even a point that Bobby was making, like, I love the way he was talking about, I was going to do some artsy indie movie, and clearly Bobby has no idea what the artsy indie movie was, he's just like, I just grew a beard and I got fat and this and that, and I was going to do an artsy movie, and that fell through. So, I did feel kind of bad for him, but I think it's really effective in terms of marketing, and it's also just like a really good interview. I think, I wish him well, and I wish he, is able to make a comeback and make some movies. And I don't think he's worse than anybody else necessarily. And he had some good movies, Gupt, Soldier, even Kareeb. I think people, if you go back and watch Kareeb, it has much more good things in it than it was received at the time.
I remember being completely heartbroken in Kareeb.
Yeah.
Like all the shit that was happening in his life.
Yeah.
Like betrayal at every single step.
Good songs, beautifully shot.
Awesome.
So I think, maybe Kareeb does need to be revisited by people that dismissed it at that time. What I also wanted to just add again about the Daisy Shah thing, I know like a lot of, again, maybe this is the Salman Khan fan in me talking or whatever, but a lot of people talk about his being human thing, that it's just a scam because he wanted to get out of the cases he was having, I don't necessarily believe that. I don't think you can make it such a big thing just because of these reasons. I genuinely do believe that Salman wants to do good in whatever weird way he thinks about things. And I mean, honestly, there's no reason for him to help out Bobby, except that he wants to help out Bobby, And I think that's really cool, like, I don't think anybody else could have done it. I don't think anybody else would have done it, but
I heard, like, I saw this interview a long time back. I think there was like him and Suraj Barjatia for the promotion of Prem Ratan Dhan Payo. They were talking about things and how when Kumar Gaurav was big and he was, he sort of took Salman in his stride and, helped him out as well as a debutant hero. And so he just wants to give the love back, pay it forward in the industry. Yeah. So that kind of old school hero wala love is still there. So he's genuinely the bhai.
Yeah.
But there's some problems in his life that we all know of.
Yeah, and I don't, like, maybe it's just me and my earnestness, like, we need to hear Amrita now, because I genuinely feel he wants to help these guys out. He really feels indebted to, Sunny helping him out with Jeet when his career wasn't doing great. And just watch Diwangi. Salman is the biggest Dharmendra fan on the earth,
like, even Farah Khan says that when the shoot was happening and Dharamji was dancing, all the rest were not supposed to be in the shot, and Salman just brings everybody together because he really wanted to be in the same shot as Dharamji.
Amrita, unleash.
No, what I would say is that I think there's something to what you were saying. Like, he does. I think he's very attracted to old school Bollywood, like what we've seen in the last couple of interviews that we've seen with Bobby, and then before that with Abhishek. And we've talked about the Abhishek one as well. I think, I don't know if we spoke about it on the podcast, but I know we spoke about it between us. What you see with all these star kids is that when you grow up in that system, there's like a way that you think about the world, the way the world functions, and what is correct, what is not correct. And you can see that over and over again in the things that Karan Johar says, for instance, where they keep talking about like this is not how it used to be. This is the way that, the industries are family. There's like relationships. Rishi Kapoor will say that a lot as well. So there's a way that they function between themselves and the relationships that go back between them. And then there's like the way they treat outsiders and like how they do that. And that's a whole nother story. So I think with Salman, like I think he's naturally set up to be a leader kind of person. Like, he's the eldest son, he's got 2 younger brothers, and there's a sense of him always being the bhai. Like, there's a reason why they call him bhai, because he actually does act like it, and he sort of steps into that role in a very natural way. It's a very natural fit for him. So I'm not saying that human beings are not 100% one thing or the other. So I don't think Salman is, when somebody came up to him and said, like, well, would you like to run a charity? I'm sure he thought it was a good idea. Like, I don't imagine Salman thinking like, well, this is the one thing that we've come to realize about Salman after 30 years is that he's a very emotional person. Everyone says it. You can see it in his actions, his reactions, the way he treats everyone from like Shah Rukh and Amir to like Arjun Kapoor and Ranveer Kapoor or whatever. He's a very emotional person, so I can see why Asim would feel that way about his charities, and I can also see why other people would feel the other way about him doing it as an image control issue, because the other thing that we know about Salman is that he's surrounded by people who have a much clearer grasp of the difficulties that he's in and the difficulties that he creates for himself because he's the person that he is, and that includes his father. So I think to actually understand this, like how much of this is real, how much of this is not real, I think we need to be in a time when Salim Khan is no longer around to take care of Salman's shit for him. Because right now, whatever we see of Salman in terms of his public image is very, very managed by his father, I think. And I think once Salim Khan isn't around, we are going to see just how messy Salman is and how much of an adult he is. And until then, I don't think we can really make a call one way or the other. But I will say that, the interviews that we've seen with Bobby, especially Bobby, but also Abhishek, it shows how protected these kids are within their families and how ill-equipped they are to actually understand how corporate things have gotten and how things have changed. You can't sit in one place and expect people to come apply to you. Bobby talks about how, who was it, Sajid Nadiadwala, who used to come and knock on his door and beg him to be in a movie. And he's now saying oh, actually this time I went to Sajid, but I don't care. I don't mind. And I was like, yeah, you shouldn't mind because you're the one that needs a job. Whereas Sajid is doing really well for himself. So things have changed, and these guys are, they're living within a very antiquated system, and they need to figure out where they fit. And I don't think they knew that was what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think they foresaw that when they entered the industry in the 90s, which was a very different place. Bollywood in the 90s was not the Bollywood that we know today. People have changed, the money has changed, the business has changed. They'll have to change as well if they want to do anything.
Yeah, and I do think the new kind of crop of actors is very much in tune with it, like Sonam, Varun, these kind of, Ranveer, they know exactly where the pulse is. And I think these older guys, they're pretty clueless. And I think even slightly younger, I think somebody like Hrithik is quite clueless about it, So, they are maybe able to have a good team around them, and then that saves them. And I think Salman probably has one of the best teams around him. Shah Rukh Khan maybe less so sometimes, I think, but yeah. So
I think Shah Rukh does really well in a business sense. I have a feeling Red Chillies is doing really well, but I think the VFX arm anyway. And I think his attention is a little I think he would like to spend more. Well, actually, you know what? I was just thinking about this just yesterday, because I was telling somebody about how Shah Rukh is frequently, his performances have improved over the years to the point where I have a reasonable expectation now that his performance will be good, but I do not have the same expectation of his film.
Of his movie,
he's frequently his performance is really good or really amazing even, and then the movie is kind of shit. Whereas with Salman, he might put in his own performance, he might just half-ass it, and it might be the most what we were talking about, the songs and everything, he might not be putting in all the effort there, but the movie itself will be really good. Like whether it's even like Tiger Zinda Hai, like it's just a, it's a smash 'em, grab 'em kind of movie. Like it's explosions and, action sequences and all that kind of stuff. But it's really well done.
Yeah.
Like it's not, like somebody sat there and like actually did the work and turned out a product that was really good. And it doesn't matter if Salman doesn't want to dance in Swagat because the movie itself works.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference between Salman and Shah Rukh at this point.
Cool. Let's move on. Do we want to talk a bit about the bucket list interview? You had a few thoughts about that too, right? So Madhuri did an interview with Anupama Chopra again. Very Anupama Chopra heavy episode we're having here. It was, I think we talked a lot about bucket list on the last episode too, where I was just kind of saying, I wish I had kind of.
Did anyone manage to watch it?
No.
It hasn't come out, right? Has it come out?
I saw the reviews come out, so I'm not sure.
No,
it's already released.
I had predicted, it did not come out in the UK, just because it's a local language movie, a regional language movie. Sorry, and that was my fear. If they hadn't dubbed it or they hadn't make it in Hindi, it's just not going to arrive here. So I don't, unless maybe you have to go to the really Asian neighborhoods.
Not a big Marathi audience here either. So one thing I took away from the interview was we were talking about Anupama Chopra being part of the movie journalism industry, like having known these people for so long. Like Anupama mentions in the interview, like back in the day when we first met, we used to talk about pimple remedies, and they both started laughing. Yeah.
And the other thing that I noticed is how much Madhuri like straight up despises Rajiv Masande in contrast.
Exactly.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah, because I was searching for it. I think I just searched, it's funny because how similar timing-wise, and I think Rajiv and Anupama are in the same interview slot. So their visuals are looking the same, their content is looking the same. So sometimes, they both have the director talking about the scene, and it becomes very confusing if I'm watching Rajiv's channel or Anupama's channel, I find. And I just randomly searched for Madhuri interview, bucket list, and I came on the Rajiv one and I clicked it, and within 30 minutes, just the face that Madhuri had, I was like, okay, I got the wrong one. I need to, and she just had that radiant, welcoming smile with Anupama. You could really feel the difference between these two.
She was straight up rolling her eyes at him. It was hilarious.
Did you watch it? Did you watch both of them, or?
Yeah, I saw both of them. And I think the difference is also that Anupama can read the room. Like when she asks a question and she knows it's sensitive or anything, and she realizes that the other person doesn't want to really talk about it. She knows how to phrase it in a way that the other person would want to talk about it. She was pushing Madhuri to respond on what Shah Rukh had said about her being the only man in the industry. And she and Madhuri was just a bit I don't really want to talk about it. But then she was like, oh, all right, fine, I'll talk about it. And Anupama kind of managed it. Whereas Rajiv was trying to get her to talk about pay parity in the 90s. And Madhuri was just like, are you effing serious? Yeah. And then Rajiv just wouldn't let it go. And he didn't know how to rephrase it and get her to be interested in the topic. And then she clearly takes a moment, huffs a breath of air, rolls her eyes, and then she gathers her patience, and then she answers him some. And I was just I can see the difference. And
I also think the interview with Anupama, because that's the only one I saw, I think also there was quite a bit of discussion where Anupama was coming from a certain point of view, and I really appreciated that Madhuri didn't agree with her, but she still saw a lot of positivity in what's going on, and I could understand Madhuri's point of view. Although I would probably tend to agree more with the points Anupama was making, I could see where Madhuri was coming from. And I think that was a real kind of skill. And, it's a skill she obviously has on screen, but I think it came more into the foray in the Anupama Chopra interview. And I don't think it probably would not have happened, that kind of empathy that she can kind of create with Rajiv Masand, because she was probably on the defense with him. And I've seen this happen with Rajiv a lot of time, especially when he's interviewing women, I feel.
Yeah. I think also with Madhuri, the phrase has nothing left to prove.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people say it, but I've never seen it in action to the point where Madhuri was doing it in those two interviews. People, both of them were asking her questions about what has she done? Anupama was asking her, do you feel is there any movie that you look back now and you feel like you've nailed it? And she was like, yeah, there's lots of them. She's there's no false modesty. There's no oh yes, if it was Shah Rukh, then Shah Rukh would have been no, I feel like I have so much more to prove. And Salman's I have only put in 5% of what I'm capable of and everything. And Madhuri was like, no, I nailed it. I can I look at that scene and I'm like, yeah, I absolutely nailed it. What are you talking about? And I love that about her. She's so confident and she doesn't apologize for who she is and what she's done. And she's like, I did this and I did that. And I'm happy with choices that I've done. And I do what I want and I don't apologize for it. I just, I just do it.
It's interesting to see her, Madhuri being portrayed by someone else in the Sanju movie. What we are going to see.
Yeah. I don't know if interesting is the word I would have chosen, but
on a positive note.
Because even the first look of Sonam that came out, and I was like, who is she playing even? What is that? I've never seen it seemed like such a contemporary pose on that poster. No actors of that time would have been mouth agape like that on a poster. It just seemed very odd and, anachronistic in a way. But no, the thing that I really liked is also how unapologetic she was about, she was getting all this praise about Bucket List and, promoting regional movies and this and that. And she's like, yeah, next movie I'm doing with Anil Kapoor is called Total Dhamal 5 or something, and she was like, I haven't done a comedy, I'm going to do a comedy, it was awesome that she said that, because I want to see her with Anil Kapoor.
She's a total boss and she's not afraid to show it, and I love that about her.
Yeah. Cool. Shall we move on to Jaan-e-Mann?
If we must.
Humko malum hai you want to talk about other things, but...
Ooh, nice one.
Nice one, not even prepared that one. Okay.
You've been waiting to get that line on in the podcast.
Guys, this is what happens when I don't get to record. I have these stupid puns in my head that I want to drop.
Okay, Asim, why don't you start us off? Because you've been wanting to talk about this movie for a long time.
For me, the release strategy of Jaan-e-Mann is one of the great tragedies of Bollywood. I've always said that. Because it came out, the year it came out, Dawn and Jaan-e-Mann came out the same day. And these clashes happen a lot, and they're fodder for, news media and all that kind of thing, clashing this and that. It happens a lot. But this was one of the first big clashes. And I think it's still the time where Shah Rukh was leading and charging dominating the box office, and Salman wasn't. And although their fan followings have kind of been equal in terms of amount and stuff like that, there's been as many Salman fans as Shah Rukh fans. It was the first moment that Shah Rukh just totally obliterated a movie, and his dominance was just so strong that I don't think Salman fans are still over it in a way. That the humiliation of Jaan-e-Mann. And the sorry part of it is that I feel Jaan-e-Mann was always the better movie. And I've always called it an underrated masterpiece. And I watched it tons of times when I came out, and I keep rewatching it, revisiting it, but I hadn't seen it in a couple of years now. And I was almost feeling a sense of trepidation, because it's the first time I'm doing it for the podcast, and I do feel, when you're putting your thoughts out there, you will get some criticism, or you're looking at it at it, the movie has a different way. You're trying to find some critical points in it, and it is not a masterpiece. I will admit that. Coming back to it, but I do feel it's very, very underrated, and I still feel it's better than Dawn. And I kind of just threw out a few questions to people, like I always do before we record a podcast. And thank you for Shirish Kandar to liking my post and retweeting my post. It got a bit more active on my dead timeline otherwise. But that was really cool. And happy birthday, Robert. It was his birthday apparently too. So I was just wondering, is this how do people feel about it? And I was amazed about the love that people have for this movie, more than any other movie we've done and, announced on the podcast we're doing this one. I got so many tweets, so many replies from people that, Nim was talking about the magical realism about this movie, Salman being hilarious, Preity being beautiful, Akshay being really, really endearing, and also just the point I raised about this being their last great Anu Malik soundtrack. And a lot of people love the music on it. Stacey from Stacey Bollyrider, the editor-in-chief of Bolly Spice, she was also saying that this is one of the most her favorite soundtracks. Saw Dard, Humko Malum Hai, the way it was set up. People still think about these songs, the visuals of it, Salman walking over the bridge or having that finger shake moment with his daughter. It really still emotionally connects with a lot of people, and I think those scenes, those songs are still very, very effective in this movie. It didn't do well at the box office. It got totally dominated by Dawn. And it's also weird that it's not anywhere available on streaming. It's not
it's on YouTube.
Yeah, the best copy I found actually was the copy I had was not as good as the copy on YouTube, funnily enough. And because Shirish Kundar's career has also, been not as successful as was hoped, maybe, he doesn't get, this movie doesn't get revisited or lauded or stuff like that because he's just not that much in the news. And I think people have forgotten a bit about it. And I feel it's a shame. So that was my monologue about Jaan-e-Mann. But yeah, I really want to hear about you guys because Sujoy, you had never even seen this movie.
No, funnily enough, never.
Wow, I was amazed, man.
I don't know why or how it managed to escape me completely.
So can I ask you first a question? What do you think Jaan-e-Mann was about? Like, if you've never seen it and, you've seen the poster, what do you think the movie was about?
I don't know. It was like, I had completely no idea because Akshay had there were bits where he is geeky and nerdy, like Mike Myers from Austin Powers, and then there's this beautiful musical visual of Salman and Preity completely in red in Humko Malum Hai, and the music is everywhere because the music is great, and then there's shots of New York and a lot of musical things happening, and of course it's going to be a romantic some sort of a love triangle happening as well. So that was my preconception of how Jaan-e-Mann was going to be, but I was actually charmed by the time I finished the movie. I know it has a few issues. I know it's not completely, as you say, a cinematic masterpiece, but I do get the feeling that it's like it's got the earnestness of a first-time filmmaker who wants to do something different and bring some of his own signature into Bollywood, the Bollywood cinemascape, and I could see that, I could feel that earnestness in the way the things were, depicted on screen. I really enjoy the camaraderie of Akshay and Salman. I haven't seen Mujhse Shaadi Karoge either, this was one great thing. I did feel that Preity Zinta's role was quite. I would have liked to see more of her story. I thought that was cut short a bit in comparison with Akshay and Salman's story. But overall, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Amrita, because the surprise that happened last time that you don't like Preity Zinta, right? Which I was constantly thinking about when I was rewatching this movie. Had you seen Jaan-e-Mann, or was this kind of your first go?
I had seen Jaan-e-Mann, and I actually feel exactly the same as I did then. Like it was surprising to me. Like I thought my feelings must have changed in the past 10 or so years, but no, it's actually exactly the same. And I thought then, as I think now, that it's a really high concept film that was let down in its execution. Like it's. I can see like the technical things that they were thinking of doing, and they've done it so well. There are like so many things about this movie that that really impress me even now. Like I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, like they did that in 2005. And but the thing is, like, it's sort of let down by the fact that it relies a little too much on Hindi cinema tropes that make it sort of unlikable as well. So you have like all these technical elements that are designed to make you love it, but then the story-wise, like the emotion-wise, is really hard for me. I don't know about other people, but for me, it's like really hard to connect to Suhan, and like, because the movie is designed in a way for you to be on the side of Suhan, but I can't be on the side of Suhan because Suhan is an asshole. Like he's a deadbeat ex-husband. Another thing that they do in this movie. Okay, wait. Let's just backtrack a bit, because I think it's important to like just talk about what this movie is. It's basically the story of these two people who were once in love and they eloped and got married, and then later on they get a divorce, and then he needs to get out of paying her alimony, so he tries to set her up with like an old flame. That's a bare bones plot of the film, but it's also about a lot of other things, because the guy in this, like the guy that Salman plays, is a character called Suhan, who wants to be an actor. And the movie opens actually with sort of like an homage to 70s Hindi cinema. And it's, Salman basically dreaming that he is in a Filmfare Awards function.
No, it actually opens in space.
Yeah, with 2001 signature. Yeah, 2001. Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, it opens in space in like the worst
space station ever.
Yeah. They're like Star Trek recreations in somebody's living room that are
like the one theme that keeps on going in this movie is that there is no limit to Shirish Kundar's imagination, but it doesn't know how to completely bring it to fruition.
No, my thing was what I found egregious is, please let's not start the movie with Akshay Kumar speaking in English.
Yeah.
I love the guy, but that's not how you want to start a movie. Like, I'm just saying.
And then there's, we will talk about the spoilers later.
So then after that, it moves to like Suhan and that whole thing, the problem with Shirish, and I feel bad for the guy because this is something that he'll have to struggle with his entire life, is that his wife is really famous and really good at her job, and she's really famous for her take on the behind the scenes working of the Hindi film cinema, and also like the tropes that we are familiar with in Hindi cinema. So like when I see something like that Filmfare scene, to me that is pure Farah Khan. Like I just look at it.
Because it was also recreated in Om Shanti Om to a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
They perfected that scene in Om Shanti Om.
So I don't know if like Shirish wrote it and then like Farah came in, or they worked it together. I don't know what was going on with that thing. But to me, like, I'm just like, anyway, so you have all of that. And then what happens is, the way that I forgot what I was trying to say.
Can I just jump in? We've made the comparison between Farah Khan and Sajid Khan a few times on the podcast, right? The difference between them. And I just had this thought about how Farah Khan and Shrish Kundra are similar yet different. I think both of them have a genuine love for Hindi cinema, commercial kind of cinema. But I think where Sajid has a disdain for his audience, Shrish has a very clear disdain for the machinery around Bollywood. And I think that disdain a lot of times comes through a lot. Sajid's disdain for the audience comes through. I think especially like the scene you were mentioning earlier about it. And it's so funny how the final part of Humko Maloom Hai almost feels like Shiresh's life story more than Salman's life story, that, it's such a big budget launch, and like Sajid Nadiadwala is a big producer, the money that they spent on this movie is probably considerable. And the way Shrish was treated, the reception of this movie was exactly the way Suhan's career was, flop hai tu, bilkul flop hai tu, that kind of thing. And it was just amazing that there was no way when they were making it that they had the thought that this what was gonna happen to Shrish, but it's exactly what happened to Shrish. And I think when Salman is taking off his shirt, making Jaan-e-Mann is Shrish taking off his shirt in a way.
To me, a lot of the influences that Shirish shows is the difference between Shirish and Farah to me and Sajid is that Farah and Sajid are very desi. You can see the references are very much like Hindi cinema from the 70s and the 80s. Yeah. Whereas for Shirish, I can see a lot of old Hollywood because I grew up on a steady diet of old Hollywood musicals and stuff. And I can see a lot of that stuff being reflected in his work in Jaan-e-Mann. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's a mystery why Shirish isn't taking Jaan-e-Mann and trying to do something outside of India or trying to do something for a streaming platform or going to Netflix and being look, can I just make something that appeal to the NRI audience or something? Because it's very whimsical and it's very technically accomplished, the things that he's trying to do, the storytelling aspects in Humko Maloom Hai and when Agastya is telling his story, all those the flashback scenes and how they integrate it and the shift from one set to the other. Those are very classic Hollywood type of song.
Musical,
yeah. And I really enjoy it and I really like it and it's very comforting to me to watch on screen, and I haven't really seen that in Hindi cinema that much. So these are all amazing, wonderful things, but then at the center of the story, it's just Suhan. Suhan is my problem. Not Salman, but Suhan is my problem.
Yeah. But again, that Hollywood Broadway-inspired musical flashback sequence, it's all very, very technical in the way it's executed, and it's executed to perfection. But it also coexists in this universe where there is so much Bollywood masala drama happening, and I don't know if that gels well with the audience. So the audience is pretty confused. And we talk these Bollywood Broadway inspired musicals, we as Bollywood cinema, we are famous as the song and dance movie industry, but we struggle to make Bollywood Broadway-inspired musicals to become successful, in the case of Jaan-e-Mann and as well as Jagga Jasoos that came out last year.
And it also makes some really weird decisions in the movie, like that whole Anupam Kher thing. Why is Anupam Kher a dwarf in this movie? And he is literally just on his knees and walking around. And it is so bad at times. Yeah. There are times when everybody else is sitting and the Anupam Kher character is standing because there's no way that he can sit.
And they also clearly use a slanted stage, that to kind of give a depth perception that, he is actually shorter. It's a technique they also use in Lord of the Rings in a way, but it's done really, really badly here. here. It's such an odd decision, and honestly, I think it's one of the reasons that this movie was kind of killed at the box office. I think this is one of those. You can really pinpoint the mistake, and I think the dwarf character is one of those mistakes. I have trouble with it because it's a very offensive portrayal, first of all, but it's secondly, it's not done well. It's very awkward, but the third part is it just has a lot of funny lines in it though. Like when Salman and Anupam Kher and Akshay are together, I just Akshay says, "Zara bachche ki help kar dena." I just cracked up, whenever Akshay says the word "bacha," I just laugh anyway. He just has this way of delivering it, and even Anupam Kher, when we have this whole flashback of Humko Malum Hai, which is I think 9 or 10 minutes, and they're just kind of like sitting and having a drink, and Anupam says, "Badi sad story hai teri, emotional bhi hai." I just thought that was so funny.
But then they have that like one whole sequence when his name is Boni Kapoor in this movie, and they just double down with all the Bona word puns that they can think of, and they just like, we are going all out on this, like representation, motherfucker.
That was.
I think they literally came up with that joke, and then they were like, let's just shoehorn this stupid fucking joke into this film somehow. And like, it's so needless. Like, there's no need for that guy to be like a dwarf. Like, why?
It almost feels like a Sajid Khan kind of punching up the script in almost, like the kind of puns, and maybe they went to Sajid and said, "Sajid, can you just make it a bit funnier?" And this is what he came up with, because it has a very kind of John Abraham fighting the alligator kind of vibe to it. That's a Household 2 reference, people.
Oh wow!
Dead silence.
That's I was just. I was saying in mid-sentence, I was like, people have no clue what I'm talking about.
Speaking of another Sajid Khan joke in this movie, I think he came up with the name of Preity Zinta as the Russian astronaut or cosmonaut. Her name in the movie starts with Preity Zinta playing a blonde Russian in the spaceship with Akshay, and her name in the movie is Preity Zintakova.
That's so good. And you can see Sajid doing the hand gestures when saying Zintikova,
Oh dear.
Oh god.
So I will say, like, I really liked Akshay in it, because Akshay, he's good at two things, right? He's really good at portraying vulnerability, and he's really good at comedy. These are like two things that Akshay is like amazingly good at. Like, his entire career is based on those two things. And he does both of those here. Like, he goes all out. Like, Agastya is like one of, I think, irrespective of the movie, like, Agastya is probably one of my favorite characters ever.
He's so good. A lot of times he's playing Ross from Friends, basically. I mean, I see the influence there, right? Especially with the hair and all that, and the laugh. But yeah.
The laugh reminded me of Beavis and Butthead.
But that scene where, like, he goes to see her at the nightclub and then finds her with Salman, and then he's just standing there in his Russell shirt.
It breaks my heart.
So sad.
It gets to me every
the
time.
Scene from Friends when Rachel goes away at prom.
Yeah.
And he's just sat there.
That breaks my heart, man. Seriously. And I also love the moment in the song, I think the song is Ruk Jana, where he actually flies in the audience, and it's like, you don't see it happening, and suddenly he starts flying, and it's so cool. I don't know. I feel Adnan Sami's voice has that bit of pathos in it that the character of Agastya has, and it's just a perfect combination. It just has that Bollywoodness of heightened emotion, and they heighten it even more by making him fly because he's so much in love. This is where my earnestness comes in. It kills me. That scene kills me. That whole moment kills me. And it's not that Ruk Jana itself is a good song. It's a terrible song. But just the parts with, with Akshay and Adnan Sami singing for Akshay are amazing. And I just thought it was cool to hear Adnan Sami's voice in a Bollywood movie again.
The song is Ud Jana, by the way.
Is it Ud Jana?
Yeah.
Ruk Jana? Why did I write Ruk Jana? Anyway.
Yeah. It makes sense. He's flying.
No, it's a Ruk Jana, Ruk Jana. Isn't that the song?
Ud Jana.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Clearly, I don't like this movie as much as I thought I liked it.
This is a theme. Asim is like, I love this thing. Oh,
I don't know what I'm talking about.
It's like that meme of a dog in the laboratory with the test tubes, and the tagline says, I don't know what I'm doing here.
I'm basically a dog meme for a podcast producer. My notes say Ruk Jana, actually, funny enough. Anyway.
Do your research.
By the way, don't you find it funny that both Sajid, Farah and Shrish have, in the high school scenes, dressed people in these colorful tuxes with the fluffy pirate shirts?
Mike Myers from Austin Powers.
They've done it in all three of them have done it. In every all of their movies they've done it. It's such a weird, specific thing that they all seem to find funny. I don't know what it is.
I think it must be, I don't know, I'm just guessing that it must be some sort of like family project when one of them is making a movie. Like they must all like get each other to like chip in and like do things. I don't know I don't know. Like I would like to see like the first draft that Shirish did of this movie, like by himself. If there's any such thing that he had done where just him, without Farah or Sajid or anybody else
corrupting.
Like like we're talking about the Humko Malum Hai and everything and how beautiful the choreography is. And let's not kid ourselves, that's entirely Farah Khan.
Yeah.
Like she's she's the one with the Broadway experience. She's the one who, and Farah actually does know her Hollywood, classics. Like when she's talking about musicals and stuff, it's very clear to see that she knows all that kind of stuff. So nobody still does like, the grand spectacle thing. It's just that Farah herself prefers to do like what is it? That song from Happy New Year.
India Wale.
The other one, like the item song with Deepika.
Oh, right. Not Sheila Ki Jawani.
No, with Deepika.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not as good as Sheila Ki Jawani, whatever that was.
By the way, Sheila Ki Jawani is still date like one of, I wouldn't say even one of, I would say the best item song.
Totally. It rules the roost. It's a banger, man. Every time you watch it, it's so good.
And Akshay is amazing in that too. Like when he's like, "Sala aankhon se balatkar karta hai."
I love that. Totally non-PC, but I thought that was hilarious. Especially because it's Vishal Dadlani, right?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite songs ever.
Yeah.
But anyway, like that's not the Khan movie, so we can't talk about it. But anyway.
Humko Malum Hai, I wanted to also just kind of add on that. There's never been a song like this. It's part flashback. It's part setting the story beats. It's part framing device.
It's a mini movie in itself.
Yeah,
it's complete.
And there's comedy in it, and then it's like real pathos tragedy in it. Like when he comes back and he goes like "Waqt se hara lota hu main," and the whole scene with the divorce papers, and then the whole camera spins around. And you just focus in on the thing, and then Salman crying and the grandeur suddenly of the emotions in it. It is beautiful, man. It's top 10 songs of like all time, I would say. It's so good. So good. And even lyrically, I thought, cause it's a very complex way of singing a song. It's not like a steady rhythm that you're singing it, and complex wording, complex rhythm, complex melody, and pulling it off in this way, I think it's amazing.
But did you notice they also ripped off like Amir's real life story in that?
No, I didn't know what it was. Clearly, because as you say, I'm not an Amir fan. I don't know the story. What is the story?
Go on, Amrita, spill the beans.
Because when like Amir got married, like he was famously one of those heroes that got married like in secret and then told everybody, no, I'm still single, because everyone told him that, you need to pretend that you're single because people won't come to see you and you won't become a big hero if you tell people you're married. So very famously, like Amir was one of those people that like hid his marriage for a while, and then people slowly found out that he was married. So what happens in Humko Malum Hai is like, she comes home and they've been a team together, and it's heartbreaking for like multiple reasons, this song, because they've been a team together and they're like run off together and they're like two against the world. And Preeti's been at his side while he like looks for jobs and he finds a job. And then one day she comes home and she finds him with the suitcases packed. And she goes, oh, are we going on a trip? And he's like, no, I need to go by myself and like pretend like not to be married. And basically just abandons her and goes off and like tries to have this movie career. And then it fails and he comes back and then she's gone.
Yeah. So, and the reprise of it is as well, like where you see from Preeti's perspective how things go.
That is so unique again, right? Like, because it is that point where we, as an audience member, need to see the movie through Suhan's eyes at the start. And I think the way they shot it, you get it. It's, it's like, okay, I have to just focus for a bit, like I just need to go and come back, I'll be back and I'll be successful. Although it sounds fishy immediately, but you kind of get it. But then when you see it from Preeti's point of view, it's heartbreaking again, man. They just keep like pounding the emotions in. It's like, poor girl, man, poor girl. It's such a good song. It's such a good song. I love it. I really do.
I think probably that's why I am willing to forgive everything else that doesn't work in this movie, because that particular thing, like Jaan-e-Mann gave us Humko Malum Hai, and I can cherish that for time immemorial.
Yeah. Again, they also reprised the tune of Humko Malum Hai in Sau Dard. Yeah. And again, Sau Dard is such a difficult song to sing, because part of it is just kind of humming the melody of Humko Malum Hai in Sau Dard. And it's crazy that Anu Malik thought of this, like he was like the rip-off king for so long. And I just thought this was like totally original. I don't see any lifting of any other melodies or anything like that, and it's just a shame that such a good soundtrack with such good visuals, really good singing by Adnan, by Sonu Nigam, and the whole movie just kind of got cancelled in a way. It's a shame. So shall we talk a little bit about Preity though? We've been kind of dancing around it a little bit. It's terrible. Like, the writing of Preity is just terrible in this movie, right? Like, everything Amrita was saying in the last movie we were talking about about Preity Zinta, in Kal Hona Ho, right? That her character is being pretty, dimple, smiley and pretty and all that kind of thing. And there's no understanding of, what was her name again? Neha? Was it Neha in? Yeah. It's like 10 times worse in this movie.
Sorry, Nana.
Sorry, yeah.
Nana.
Yeah. I don't think they even decide if they're calling her Priya or Pia until 20 minutes into the movie. Am I right in this? Because I feel wait, is it Priya? Is it Pia? What is her name even?
No, you're right, because I couldn't figure it out. Is it Pia? Like, who is she?
And yeah, it's like,
and also like when they did finally like arrive at a personality for her, she's an asshole too. Like, it's not like, like Suhan's the only one. Like, no, Suhan and Pia like clearly deserve each other. Like, good for Agastya. Like, he got out of that because, oh my God.
Yeah. And it's also funny because obviously I think one of the thing is they've not built the character of Priya /Pia, but it's also because they have this, they want to keep it for the big reveal around the interval, right? So that's why they're also not showing her side, her world, what she's been doing, why is she in New York, why does she still need alimony when she seems to be living like in a pretty good neighborhood and has a interior decoration flower shop or something like that.
She drives in a limo all the time.
with that weird guy. Like, what does that guy do? Like, is he a boyfriend? What is it?
I don't know.
I couldn't figure it out.
I think
like,
he's a suitor.
what's the
He's a
deal with,
potential
like-
suitor, right? That's what he is.
Yeah. I mean, what's his name? Zubin in the movie. He played by this guy called Aman Verma. I don't know
Yeah.
what's the deal. Like, he appears in another Preity Zinta movie. Probably they're friends, and they just got him in a supporting role.
It's
somehow.
also a very Dil Chahta Hai thing, right? Like, oh, the guy, she has a boyfriend now. You know, it was kind of launched with Dil Chahta Hai, whatever.
Subodh.
Yeah, yeah.
Something
So he's a
like
very kind of Subodh kind of character. Zubin Subodh sounds
No.
even the same.
So with the Aman Verma guy, like, I can tell you why he was in it. Like, I can guess why he was in it. It's not because he was friends with anyone, but because for some weird reason, he was like a huge deal back then. Like one of those Ekta Mata serials or something.
Yeah.
Like he was on like those Star Plus drama.
Yeah,
kind of a thing. And he was like a big deal. I don't know which one it was, but he was like he was a big deal. Like I remember he was in like everything at a point of time.
Yeah.
And then at some point he got accused of like raping somebody or something.
What?
And
A
then,
couch potato.
Yeah.
Not couch potato.
Casting couch.
Casting couch. That's the one. Yeah, there was a sting operation with him involved and Shakti Kapoor all happened at the same time.
I remember
by
that.
Tahalka.
Right.
Yeah, his career pretty much tanked after that. And
and
deservingly
he
so.
couch French fry.
sorry.
But
It's
but
okay.
yeah.
We're all making mistakes in this podcast. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
But yeah, he appears in that Sangharsh movie as well, right? With him singing one of those, that amazing Sonu Nigam song.
I can't remember.
Oh,
Mujhe Raat Din, that's the one.
is he singing that? Okay, wow.
Yeah, on the phone.
He's also
But-
one of the cops in Tis Maar Khan, क्योंकि मैंने 20 बार
Yes,
देखी है,
exactly.
you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he's in like a bunch of movies from that time. And now it's that other guy, Ronit Roy,
Yeah.
right?
yeah,
Ronit Roy, yeah. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, so there's like weird, like it's a very, that's why I said like, you know, they were like so focused on the technicalities and the spectacle aspect of it. And I didn't see this movie on the big screen. I feel like I might feel more, I might feel more kindly towards this movie if I'd seen it on the big screen. I'm just imagining what it must have looked like, you know, like Humko Malum Hai on the big screen. It must have been amazing.
Oh yeah, I did see it in the big screen. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But coming back to Preeti, the point I was trying to make is like they have this reveal where she was actually pregnant. I mean, which we haven't actually talked about yet. She was actually pregnant, and when she wanted to announce it to Suhan, that's when he said that I have to go, and she basically had to do this pregnancy all on her own while he was trying to make his career. Which timeline-wise, I don't understand, but okay, let's see that. I mean, obviously, phone doesn't exist, social media doesn't exist. It does exist, but not in this movie. But again, they're doing this because they want to keep the reveal that Suhan is actually a dad of a little girl, right? But in the second half, when the reveal is already done, there's no reason for Pia/Priya not to get any, you know, content, like context to her character, you know, why is she like, even if the line is, if they made the point that she's falling for, Akshay because she sees Suhan in him, because Suhan is kind of, you know, Cyrano de Bergeracking him, you know, he's hitching him, he's partnering him, you know, that she's seeing Suhan, and that's what she's falling in love with, right? But they don't even ever make that point clear, and I think that's where the movie loses it. And I think the overall problem with Jaan-e-Mann is it fills in all of the ideas in the first half of the movie, and the second half movie becomes kind of, it loses all of those meta narratives, all of those flourishes, cinematic flourishes, everything like that, and it relies on kind of a straightforward story and the songs of it. Even the songs, there's not that many in the second half anymore. We just have that terrible, terrible wedding song which just goes on for 10 minutes, and it is horrible. And that's pretty much the only song in the second half of the movie. And the first, at the first half of the movie, we have like 3 or 4 songs within a time span of 20 minutes. You know, like Humko Malum Hai, which is 9 minutes. Then you have the Urjana one, and then you have another one like Jaan-e-Mann, you know, the Qawwali song. They all happen within 20 minutes in a flashback sequence, and the pacing of this movie is just really weird in that sense.
Let's just quickly talk about Kabul Kar Le, the parental pressure song, when everybody is pushing Preeti to say yes, and like even the kids, like fuck off, kids.
I was thinking of Amrita when she says "gande gande bache." You know, those are the gandest bache of all, man.
Like, what the fuck do you know about life?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, I am, you know, like that scene in which Salman is standing at the intersection and there's some white kid that's like looking at him and he basically frightens the kid and he goes, "Gande bache." I absolutely, I'm on Suhan's side at that point.
Never ever have you ever identified as much with the Salman Khan character at that point. Not only Salman was at a crossroads in life, but so was Amrita.
But yeah, I honestly feel like this is an underwritten movie. Like, it's very high concept, and you know, like what Sujoy was saying, like there's a theory out there that says the first movie that any director makes, that's their most cherished and that's their best film because they've put in their heart and soul into it, because it's for all they know, it's their only shot. So they're doing like the most that they can. And it's their most personal movie. And having watched Jaan-e-Mann, like I feel like Shirish Kundar could have like an amazing career. He just needs to stop thinking about it in terms of like, you know, like trying to make a success out of something, or like I need to make the next blockbuster movie. Like he can just try and like do whatever he thinks is like would be like a cool thing. And I don't get why none of these people think about something other than making a movie. Like, go on YouTube. Like,
but he's made a short movie, right? He's been trying to make short movies and stuff like that. He has done that.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, he did try. But I think one of the things that we haven't talked about, right, is, the thing is, I feel it's unfair that he made Joker, which was terrible, but clearly had production issues. It had issues with Akshay at that time, and it was a whole thing. But what stalled Shirish Kundar's career is the slap incidents with the Shah Rukh Khan more than anything, right? And I know a lot of times people talk about Salman killing Vivek Oberoi's career is something that I don't necessarily agree with, because Vivek got a lot of chances after that. Shirish didn't get any chances after this. And I think when we're in an industry where Ahmed Khan gets to make and produce movies, Nikhil Advani gets to make and produce movies.
Remo D'Souza gets to make movies. Anis Bazmi gets to make movies.
Yeah, I didn't add Anis because Anis actually makes money, you know, like his movies make money, you know. Nikhil and Ahmed Khan do not make any money whatsoever. That Shirish Kundar, a very talented, like passionate guy, doesn't, I feel that's a real tragedy in a way.
Yeah. But I think the difference between Shirish and those people is that Shirish is trying to do, or from what I have seen of his work, even in Joker, like however bad that was, it had a very definite perspective, and it had, there was an idea. Between Joker and Jaan-e-Mann, there's like a very clear lineage that you can see between the two. Like, you know, like you can see the idea, the man behind the ideas of both movies. And that man is not comparable, in my opinion, to like any of the names that you've just said, like Ahmed Khan or like any of them, because those guys make like very like movie by the numbers, you know, like they're making like movie, they're churning out the Rosie Roti wali movies, you know, and Shirish doesn't make those movies. He's, I think the tragedy of Shirish Kundar is that he aspires to more.
How sad is this that that's a tragedy, right?
I know.
His short film was called Kriti, and it starred Radhika Apte and Manoj Bajpayee. Actually, it came out in 2016, and it got really good reviews. I didn't get a chance to see it because very quickly it got derailed
there is
by
some controversy
there was
regarding that as well.
plagiarism controversy was going around it, which I think he had ultimately won. But actually, funny enough, there's an interview with Suresh, which they are very hard to find interviews with Suresh. Suresh, if you want to come on the podcast, if you're listening to this, I would love to talk to you because clearly I'm a huge fan. But he had one with Amrita's favorite journalist, Faridun Shehryar.
What? I've never even said anything about him. It's literally you two going like, he's at it again.
You know, like when you go to a party and someone you despise comes across and your best friend just nudges you saying your best friend. It's like
I am that friend, basically, because my joke hadn't finished. I was going to say Amrita's favorite journalist and Sujoy's favorite singer, Faridun Shehryar. He had an interview with Shirish Kunder, basically, and he's working on new projects. Something is a thriller, but I also felt sad that he actually didn't want to make Jaan-e-Mann as his first project. He had something else in mind, and I think he was saying Joker or Happy New Year or something like that. I'm not 100% sure what it was, but Sajid wanted to make Jaan-e-Mann. So he kind of, I don't know, forced. I think he was fully on board with it, and but I also understand, like, he's also figured out that he has a disconnect with the audience. He feels that he's not speaking their language, and through Twitter, he says that he's been able to find more of a way of connecting because he has a huge Twitter following. I think he's like 1.4 million or 2 million, which for a director that his movies haven't been that successful. Although KRK has a huge following too, but so I don't know about that. But yeah, he has a good following and he is working, and he feels with Twitter he's been able to connect a little more. And we also can't downplay that he's an amazing editor, right? He's edited most of Farah Khan's movie, and I think editing is one of the strengths of Farah Khan movies, and I think Shrish Kunder is a big part of that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Can we little bit talk about the whole courting sequence with Salman and, Akshay courting Preity? Did you guys have some thoughts about how that whole thing happened? I mean, it's nothing original. It's very much, Char Din Ladki In or, Hitch or Partner, that kind of vibe to it, especially when you add New York to it. It's New York, right? Or are they again in Toronto and they make it sound like New York? I don't know where they are. It looked like New York, right?
It did look like New York.
Yeah, there's a couple of scenes, but the reason why they shoot in like Toronto or Vancouver is because like you can't really tell the cityscapes apart.
Yeah. And Akshay gets a cut, right? He gets a tax break, I imagine.
The landscape is definitely New York. I mean, the Brooklyn Bridge is actually the Brooklyn Bridge. So.
Yeah, it looked nice. I thought even the New York sequences were. I thought it gave me more of a vibe of the city than even Kal Ho Na Ho did. Because Kal Ho Na Ho, it could have been. I mean, they also have Brooklyn Bridge and all that, but I just felt it was more lived in New York in a way.
Kal Ho Na Ho is ridiculous with New York. Like she like runs from Queens to Manhattan. I'm just like, ये तो PT Usha की बेटी है. Like, what the hell
it's the same with like Thakur Baldev Singh in Ghar Raja Pardesi, just walking around London all the time.
I know.
Yeah.
It goes all the way to Trafalgar Square from like
Southall.
Yeah.
You can find pigeons anywhere, Babuji. Like, just go to your local park. Like, nahi, Trafalgar Square.
And he then walks around Hyde Park.
Yeah. Amrish Puri doesn't around with his morning cardio, man. That's what's going
on. Okay. I have one thing also to add. So at the beginning, like the start of the podcast, we were talking about where did Salman Khan's accent get, when did we start mocking it at the beginning?
It was
like that acceptance speech.
Yeah.
In the acceptance speech that he has in the dream sequence at the Filmfare Awards is like, that's the template of why we mock Salman's accent. And then he does the same thing when he goes into, auditioning for the ads, and he talks about boo-boo diapers. Oh. And he starts ranting about why it's good for a dad. Oh man!
But I think it's also this is where again this disdain of the machinery that Shrish has, right? He hates advertisers. He just thinks you can just freestyle an ad and they'll change the whole concept because Salman just says, "Oh, I'm a bad dad and I can do it." I have to say, Salman begging for the role did get to me. It's probably with that white director who sound. By the way, all white people sound Australian in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know what that accent is, but they're definitely not American. I don't know where they're from, but oh my God.
Yeah. No, it's definitely Australian. So he's in this tea room and
Asim, never do an accent again.
Guys, listeners, let us know if you want me to do a whole episode in an Australian accent. He's seeing Salman in a coffee shop talking to the clone of Anupam Kher. Anupam Kher on holiday in New York, basically. He didn't even dress. He didn't even wear a hairpiece. He just showed up and had a giggly laugh, and that's it. And he just approaches Salman with a role, and because Salman wants to be a superstar, which I don't understand why he still wants to be a superstar, or he thinks he can be a superstar, but I guess that's what Suhan is about. When he realizes he has a daughter, which again, a very good scene. This whole finger shake thing, it gets to me. And it's always man, Salman with kids, he has more chemistry with kids sometimes than he has with his actresses, and he's just great with kids. He's always been, and this finger shake gets to me, and it seems like something that Salman maybe improvised or something like that. It's a very effective scene. He actually begs for this role, and I thought it was good, even in his fake American weird accent that he puts on, and he definitely has it on. But it worked for me. What did you guys feel about the reveal of the baby? I mean, Sujoy, you didn't even know there was a baby, right? Did you see it coming?
No.
Did you knew it was going to happen?
It was okay.
It didn't get to you? Me it got to me. I didn't even have a kid at that time, actually, but clearly I was mentally preparing for being a dad. Yeah. And I could get it, man. I was a bit of a Suhan. I was an asshole, but
I was just thinking, I knew how much you liked Jaan-e-Mann, and then I was and I'd forgotten that whole sequence, in Humko Malum Hai, and I was watching it, and I was thinking about it, and you guys were talking about how much you loved that song, and I was what if that had been Isa and you just told her okay baby, I need to go concentrate on my career, so peace out, and I'll call you when I call you, and disappeared on her, she would have boxed you to the ground. And,
we're gonna talk about this offline because I don't want to divulge it, but I have done such assholey things. Honestly, I knew that is an exact scene in my life, and I still beg for forgiveness to my wife. There's a lot of identification in this movie that goes on, which is. Let's talk about this offline.
Oh, I want to know. Okay, you can cut that out. You can cut out that part.
No. More than the baby reveal thing, I think the part that affected me the most was the reprise of Humko Malum Hai from Preeti's perspective.
I also love the thing where Salman has that telephone booth thing, which is again shot so beautifully, where he's crying again, Anupam Kher, and he's telling him that he has a baby, and he just gives up. He's what's Akshay's name again in the movie?
Agastya.
Yeah, Agastya loved her when she loved somebody else, and he loves her when she knows he has a child, and he loves her when he knows that it's not his child, and he keeps that. And I just thought
his love never changed. My love started.
It's such a it's such a sweet line. It's such that really gets to me. Yeah, and just the whole when that scene where Akshay says that he's engaged to Preity and those windows shatter. I mean, the CGI is terrible, but at that time, it was again like, it's just heightening those emotions. It's making Agastya fly. It's, the final scenes of Humko Malum Hai, the finger shake when he sees his daughter and his world just fills up with light, Again, identification to the max, I see my daughter's face, I hear a story about her, and my world just fills up with light. There's no, I don't, it's such an emotion that it's so clearly portrayed, and if you've lived through it, it is exactly that, It's, yeah, I'm getting emotional again. Yeah, it's lovely.
So basically, the advice here is go have a baby. When the baby's born, you'll appreciate this movie.
Yeah, it's like Interstellar, If you don't have a child, you don't understand what Interstellar is about, I'll go through dimensions to get to my child, That's what Great.
Okay, so we all know that Asim is going to recommend this movie, but what about you, Sujoy? Like, would you recommend this to other people?
Why not? Yes, go for it. I mean, what else are you going to watch?
That is the worst recommend ever.
Go for it, man.
Yeah. No, but this movie is not appearing on TV. You have to seek it out, right?
Yeah.
But it's officially legit uploaded on YouTube, and that's the easiest streaming platform that you can get to.
Yeah.
There are no geographical restrictions or anything, and it's for free. Just go on YouTube and watch it, man. There's nothing stopping you.
Yeah.
So, go for it. And definitely you can appreciate at least Humko Malum Hai.
Yeah, so I was actually going to recommend that people watch that on YouTube, and then if you like it, and if you like the feel of it and the vibe of it, then go, search out the movie, because the movie is basically that vibe. Or at least the first half.
Even actually, if you watch all of the songs, it gives you, because they're so built into the narrative, and they're pretty much all songs are telling a story, except maybe the Qawwali song, but even there, it gives you the whole kind of narrative flow of the movie. So if you want to watch a condensed version, which is still going to be like 25-30 minutes because the songs are quite long, you could just watch the songs, and they're really worth watching. Yeah. So I think we're done, because it's getting quite a long episode, as we've indulged as much as Shrish Kunder indulged in Jaan-e-Mann. I think let's wrap it up, guys. I think just to kind of repeat, we're going to be doing a few listener choice awards. So send us your picks of movies that you want us to talk about. We have received like 7 or 8 recommendations, but a lot of people have tweeted me, and guys, I try to the interface of Twitter is so bad that sometimes I don't save it. So send it to us again if you feel you missed out a movie in your poll or anything like that. Send us reviews. We can still give you a goodie bag. We can still send you a book, a very nice book. It's like the size of an encyclopedia. And also vote for our next poll, which is 2011, which has again the movies which I'm trying to pull out. It was Ready, Bodyguard, Ravan, and what was the other one? Ravan and
Dawn 2,
and then Dhobighat. That's it for us. Sujoy, where can people find you online?
I'm on Twitter @9E3K.
Amrita?
On Twitter @AmritaIQ.
Great. And we're on upodcast. You've been listening to Khandaan Podcast. Thank you for listening, guys. Follow us at upodcast. Send us an email at upodcasting@gmail.com. If you want to win the book, send us write us a review, take a screenshot, and send it to us at upodcasting@gmail.com. That's the best way, because there's no way I can track it otherwise. And again, I'm judging the guys that don't review. I am. But anyway, thanks for listening in any case, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Girl, you're my